Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Triple N Media. I am NIK NIKAM. In this presentation, we are going to look at the history and the mystery of Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been lately in the news for various reasons, which we are going to cover, and we're going to look at the history of Bitcoin and whether you should be investing in Bitcoin. We'll cover some of the charts to tell you how far Bitcoin has come since its inception in 2008. Bitcoin had hit $1 trillion mark just recently. It has pulled back a little bit, but still the $1 trillion mark drew attention of many prominent people here in the United States, notably Elon Musk, who invested $1.5 billion in Bitcoin a month ago or so. Now he has already made more than $1 billion in profit. That was inspiring to a lot of people through his tweets and announcements. But on the other hand, Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, was yelling that Bitcoin is not the right investment for most conventional investors. Banks and institutions should not be jumping into getting into Bitcoin, and that is something it has to be determined. While she was being questioned in the Senate, you can see behind her people holding the signs, buy Bitcoin. So who do you believe? Well, let's look at the facts. Bitcoin was conceived in year 2008. In 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto designed or created the Bitcoin, and the design of this as we see today. It is a cryptocurrency. It is a digital currency. It is an international currency. It is not tied to any government, economics, or geographic location. It is an electronic, like a promissory note. It is decentralized. It is international. It is distributed through a ledger system known as blockchain, which maintains the ledger of the person holding it and the person who is trying to buy it. They are connected through transactions, which we're going to talk about. In addition to Bitcoin, there are a whole host of new cryptocurrencies that have emerged, but Bitcoin is the one that has the most prominence because of its history, long history, and hitting $1 trillion mark and drawing attention from the Treasury Secretary and Elon Musk, among many others. Of course, Bill Gates is not a big fan of Bitcoin either. What is a Bitcoin? The Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency has to meet 6 conditions. It should have no central authority. That means no government is controlling the Bitcoin. It is maintained through distributed consensus. I'll talk about that in a minute. The system keeps an overview of cryptocurrency unit and their ownership. So the system keeps track of how many units are there and who owns these units and how they can access or transact with other new owners. The system defines new currency units based on circumstances of their origin and how to determine the ownership of these new units. It also defines the development of new cryptocurrencies. The ownership can only be proved exclusively through cryptography. We got fancy terms here. The system allows transactions to be performed in which the ownership of the cryptographic unit is changed. Only a person who owns the Bitcoin can issue a transaction statement. If 2 different transactions are entered, only one of them is going to be acted upon. In March 18, the word cryptocurrency was engraved in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary. All right, let us look at what is Bitcoin. How is it traded? Bitcoin is generally not traded by your regular brokerage firms. You have to go through different channels to trade Bitcoin. Bitcoin, as I told you, was started in 2008, and here is a price chart from 2015 all the way to the current date. Back in 2015, it was hovering around like $1,000 or so. Then it had a sudden explosion in year 2017, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And again in 2019, it had a little blip, and then it was coming down. And in the last year and 3 months, this has gone into an exponential growth, if you want to call it, but it is the most volatile entity on the stock market. I talked about how the cryptocurrency records are maintained. Blockchain is one such entity which is continuously growing a list of records which are linked and secured by cryptography. It is all encrypted. Each block typically contains a hash pointer as a link to the previous block, a timestamp, and transaction data. It is an open distributed ledger. It is like we had paper ledgers, we have computer ledgers. This is a digital ledger where the name of the person who owns the Bitcoin and the number of units owned by the person and the person's demographics are all recorded in this blockchain database. Blockchain is typically maintained by peer-to-peer network. So it is not maintained by any government or a world bank or anything like that. It is maintained through, like an internet, it is maintained by private peer groups which have connection with the other ones. Once a data is recorded in the blockchain ledger, it cannot be altered or manipulated. And that's one of the reasons it has to be fully secured to make sure the transactions are accurate. Also, if you have an account in their ledger, you have your personal key and a public key. Your personal key and the public key allows you to keep your records, and the public key gives access to the person you're trying to move your Bitcoin so that they can access your share of Bitcoin in exchange for money, whatever it is. This is how blockchain has been able to decentralize the transactions so that it is easy for people to keep track of their records. But let me tell you one thing. If you lose track of your key to get into your wallet, which I'm going to mention in a minute, then everything is gone. If you had $100 million worth of Bitcoins, it's finished, gone. There's no way you can retrieve it. There's no way anybody else can retrieve it. In that way, several $100 million worth of Bitcoins have been lost. About 7% of the total Bitcoins have been lost because people forgot their Bitcoin wallet keys. Let's take another look at the stock market. This one, and this is for the last 2019, 18, 17. Around 2016, it was around $1,000. And in July, after July 2017, it took off like an explosion and reached like 18,700. Within a year, it lost almost like 70-80% of its market value. It was down to 4,000. Between 2019 and 2020, it was just merrily cruising along with not much attention or attraction. And it was in July of 2020. I mean, this is when the market crashed due to coronavirus pandemic. After the coronavirus pandemic, it was slowly picking up pace. And then from July, August, it just went up like a rocket. I mean, it has gone up much faster than Tesla stock. Maybe that's why it attracted Elon Musk to put a few pennies of his funds into Bitcoin, but nonetheless, he made profit. And here's what has happened. It went to like 40,000 in the beginning of 2021, and it dipped a little bit down to like 32,000. Then all of a sudden, in February, it has exploded to reach a peak like 53,800, something like that. It has given up some of the gains in the last few days. This is the latest one as of today, $48,341, which has lost like 10% just today. That is February 23rd, 21. Okay, let's talk about wallet. I talked about the wallet. Wallet is your digital, like a folder, which has your demographics, name, address, and whatever information they store there. Plus, it has keys. You have a public and a private key. Your private key is for you to get access into your account. You provide the public key to your brokerage firm or for your person who is trying to buy your Bitcoin, so he can transfer his share of the Bitcoin for which he has paid you in some form or the other. And that's why I said the public key, it is possible for others to send currency to the wallet. Transaction fees. Many of these cryptocurrencies have no transaction fees. However, there is some transaction fee involved with the Bitcoin transfer of funds. After all, there is a brokerage firm, the middleman. The middleman always has to get a share. And in September 2018, the median transaction fee for either corresponded was like $0.017, while for Bitcoin, it corresponded to 0.55. It's not a big sum compared to if you are making like 200 to 500% profit, but nonetheless, there is some transaction fee involved with the Bitcoin. This is the final chart I want to show you. Again, this is real-time chart that was taken from Yahoo Finance. I want to thank Yahoo Finance for this. This is as of today, February 23, 2021. I just wanted to show you the expanded version of how things took off from September, October, November. It was just slowly hovering along the stock line, along the stock market as they were all going up. Then in December, it came here, and January, it just took off from 20,000 to 40,000, almost 100% increase. Then from 40,000, it went to 58,000. That is almost like a 300% increase from your $20,000 level in December of 2020. If you had invested money, man, lady, you could have just retired if you had sold it when it was 58,300. Well, that's like everybody's story. Yeah, I wish I had bought it here and I sold it here. But if you didn't sell it, 2 days you went on a vacation, now you already lost almost like 10-15% of the value from the peak. So this is highly speculative. You have no idea what is driving this Bitcoin prices. It has nothing to do with the economy. It has nothing to do with the job reports. It has nothing to do with manufacturing. It has nothing to do with international unrest going on in different parts of the world. It is driven purely by sentiments. It is driven by, I would say, greed, and it is driven by incentive. It is driven by impulse. I mean, that's what I can simplify the description. It may be oversimplification, but that's what I feel is the reason how this stock behaves. It is not your regular S&P 500 or even NASDAQ tech stocks. It is just a highly speculative stock. Anyway, let's talk about the United States Treasury, tax. Man, you can never escape tax. There are two things which are permanent in our life. One is tax. The other one is, I don't want to talk about it, it's death. But anyway, let's move on here. On 25th March 2014, the Internal Revenue Service ruled that Bitcoin will be treated as property for tax purpose. There you go, guys. You got to say now capital gains taxes. And in fact, in 2019, the IRS started sending letters to cryptocurrency owners warning them to amend their tax returns. Have you received one? So if you are trying to get into Bitcoin business, be cognizant of the fact that it has significant tax implications. I don't know whether the tax implications apply when you withdraw the money or you just pay as you go, and 2 months after you pay the taxes, if your Bitcoin drops 50%, kaput. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very quick review of Bitcoin, its history and mystery. What do you think? Are you ready to invest in Bitcoin? I know you're asking, have I invested in Bitcoin? First of all, I'm not interested in taking such huge risk. Number two, it is more riskier than Las Vegas. I would say this is probably the riskiest thing you can play in the stock market. But if you made a lot of money on GameStop, on AMC stocks, and you want to just roll the dice and see if you make a few more bucks, I mean, that's your choice. It's up to you. What do you think? Thank you so much for watching this presentation, and please do subscribe to our channel so we can bring you more interesting information on many topics